Sonic Frontiers looks promising. Sega is on track to finally make something good again after mixed failure for the main 3D games, and I couldn't be happier. As of writing the script, Gamescom ended almost 2 weeks ago, which is when Sega released another Sonic Frontiers gameplay and story trailer, as well as bringing a demo to the in-person Gamescom's event. In the coming weeks, Sega also released the ending song and intro song to Frontiers. Overall, June and September are good months to be a Sonic fan. After the rocky start with the IGN gameplay overview, which was justifiable since it was one of the earlier builds of the game, I'm glad these trailers and the demos have single-handedly brought back the game into a positive light for everyone, including me. With all these new bits of Sonic Frontiers story and gameplay, I thought it'd be fun to go over my thoughts on everything released for Frontiers till now in September 2022. In the month of June 2022, the first ever gameplay reveal trailer for Sonic Frontiers was shown off. And with over 5 years since we got a new 3D Sonic game and a few months since we saw the trailer for Frontiers, we finally get something new for the latest Sonic game. Everyone was awaiting with bated breath, and how did it go? Well, sum it up in 5 words from this random comment I found: this looks like a tech demo. And at the time the trailer went up, I was watching the reveal in class, and I was sitting with a sad feeling every Sonic fan goes through when a new Sonic game is released. Because at the time, we had been tired of the shitty treatment of 3D Sonic games. Hell, I'd say we still are. But my biggest problem with the reveal is the fact it really did look like a tech demo. Especially since it seems Sega reused the Forces model, plus the movement looking snappy, especially when Sonic turns it all during the footage. Really, it doesn't help at all either. Other than that, Sonic's speed is also slow in the gameplay, which makes sense now because there's a skill tree that can increase your speed as well as many other different mechanics, and it would have been especially nice to know in hindsight. During the footage, there was also the issue with the platforms in background randomly popping in, which was really hard to ignore in the footage because it was happening everywhere. And again, obviously the game is still unfinished and it's an older build, blah blah blah, but even if it was an older build, it certainly didn't help hype towards the game either when it was shown to the public. There's also the horrible physics with props like the broken boxes. But as time went on, the trailer started looking better and better. While there was definitely some glaring issues, the first few reveals definitely had some pretty solid gameplay and graphics. The combat, while looking pretty basic to other games in the same kind of genre like Bayonetta, it doesn't really matter since moves can be added through skill trees like the Yakuza franchise, which Sega also owns. Sonic was also doing wild ass moves we've barely seen before, like the side loop move that stuns enemies for a few seconds so you can get a few hits in, or the move I like to call the average JoJo fight. And honestly, changing the combat for this kind of game is definitely needed, especially since we're now in an actual open world. Sonic also seems much more fun to play when you can actually fight the enemies. Sure, the spin dashes and homing attacks are great for when you go fast through a level, which is why it works great in all the old Sonic games, and hell, it's gonna be great for Frontiers, but the new combat actually makes some use for the new open area. Like the previously mentioned side loop ability and Sonic's crazy wide zoom kicks, or whatever it's called, can make great additions to the openness of the map. Then there's the actual open world itself, and for me it's a mixed bag. In the original reviews for the game, the open world looked beautiful graphics wise. It's one of the best looking open world maps, but it's not as good as the Sonic open world map. Now the island you begin on is one of the 4 different open worlds that can be explored in the game, and so far we've only seen 2. A foresty, plain green world, and a basic desert world we've seen in a lot of other games. And honestly, in the beginning, I didn't like them. I hated how the islands look. The maps looked too realistic and plain, plus there was, and still is, hardly anything actually interesting on the islands themselves. All we got are floating platforms and floating rails with weird collectibles that still haven't been explained. With this logic in mind, people justifiably were pissed that the Sonic team would place the platforms and rails randomly all over the place. It just doesn't look good floating in midair. But I think after some more trailers and some time passed, may learn to love it anyway, including me. I think for what Sonic Frontiers is going for, the map perfectly fits. You're not in some familiar Sonic world where you can listen to some upbeat, badass music and eat chili dogs as you blast through every level with ease. You're in an unfamiliar area, with slow and thoughtful music that makes you wonder how you ever got here, to this wide and open landscape that has foreboding enemies and mysterious puzzles that help you take it all in. Plus, with the demo Sega has shown off at Gamescom, the story and cutscenes definitely emphasize this feeling. Then, they reveal the story and the main antagonist Sage, the big bad boss she'll be fighting throughout the game. At least we think so. I say this because she's different from every Sonic antagonist we've seen so far, because, well, first off, just look at her. Compared to everyone else, she doesn't look like the main enemy you'll be fighting throughout the game. She's more like the companion you'd find to help you explore and save your friends. But no, instead she's telling you you're harming the islands and you're making a mistake being here in the first place. It's definitely a fresh take on the Sonic antagonist, which really fits in the theme of Discovery, not just for the game's plot, but also for the Sonic franchise as a whole, which I pray doesn't fail again. I'm just really glad we're getting a new main series antagonist besides Eggman again. Sega has really done a great job at pairing the main enemy Sonic fights throughout the games. I'm definitely going to be interested in what direction Sega will take Sage after finally letting Eggman take the backseat. I guess we'll see when the game comes out. And last but most certainly, definitely not least, the new music that was just released a few days ago, more specifically the intro and the ending theme. For the intro at first, I thought it sounded pretty meh for a Sonic theme. I was used to hearing Crush 40 or a more rock-centered song, but after the second listen I realized it goes unbelievably hard. Like, here, let me play it for you. And blows Sonic forces out of the water. Fist Bump is really good, I'll give it that. The tune and style really fits what the game was going for, since it was aiming for the hopeful, together we got this kind of vibe. But I soon realized Frontiers really feels like a Sonic main theme song, with I'll keep moving forward no matter what, even in this unknown world, which is a style all really good Sonic main themes strive for, like Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Colors, or 06. I especially love how hype and good it makes you feel. Sonic music is so good at getting the player excited and amped to just go get out there and do something, which is exactly why I like all of the others so much. Then there's the outro song Sega released alongside the intro, which is weird because usually from what I remember there aren't any outro songs that are widely talked about, except maybe Sonic Colors, that's the only one I can remember. But I believe this is on par if not better than the actual main song we got. It fits the theme I talked about perfectly and has the beautiful 2000s AMV video feeling that pairs perfectly with Sonic, especially since the greatest themes also have the guitar and rock inspirations. Sonic Frontiers is set to release November 8th. If Sonic Team and Sega cannot fuck up the entire game like they love to do time and time again, I think we could most definitely be getting the greatest Sonic game in years. I hope this becomes what Breath of the Wild is to Zelda, a redefining the Sonic that brings the franchise back in the spotlight for all the good reasons. And with that, I guess I'll see you in a few months when the game is released. Ciao.